say that I don't move around a lot. I have a knee brace on under here. So if this leg looks gigantic and this leg doesn't, that's why. We're working it out, me and the docs. It'll be okay. So today I had one thing in mind for today, but you know how sometimes life happens and something will pop up that makes you stop and catch your breath? Well, that happened. Late last night, someone posted the front page for the New York Times for today. And the front page, that's what's on the screen. The front page today has all of the names, well, not all of them. It has 1,000 names of the 100,000 people who have died in the United States in the past 3 months due to coronavirus. And there was something about that image that just got me. And like every time I would wake up during the night, I would think about that long list. Because, you know, if you've seen the New York Times in the flesh, like you've held it in your hands, you know that taking up the entire front page of the New York Times with names is a big deal. It's a really big deal. So I kept thinking about the cover page, and I kept thinking about the names that were listed, and I kept thinking about, well, you know, what about the people who aren't even listed? So I kind of got sidetracked. Today changed because of that, which is as it should be. The things that stop us in our tracks and make us take a breath are things we need to pay attention to. I've heard it said that people are mysteries or we're puzzles. I've heard people say that there are just some people you cannot know. And I guess for me, I've always believed that people show you who they are. You just have to pay attention. But paying attention is sort of a struggle, especially if it's going to require more than just that real quick social media scroll, because that's kind of who we have become as a society. So there are 100,000 names that are now recorded as dead. That's 100,000 stories, because that's the other thing I've heard. Every life is a story. There are 100,000 stories that have come to an end. And if every life is a story, then that means that we're supposed to pay attention. That phrase again, pay attention. It means we have to be aware. It means when someone is brave and they do share, this is me, we're supposed to be very there in that moment with them. We're supposed to take it in. We're not supposed to be distracted by our phones, by our tablets, by whatever else is going on around us. We're supposed to pay attention to them. Sometimes it's us asking them for their story. But sometimes, like with Sherry's mom, it's unsolicited. We'll sit down at the dinner table and suddenly Sherry's mom starts talking about her life growing up. And you listen. And first of all, some of the stories are great and humorous, but then some of the stories have a heaviness to them. And as I listen to her, I can't help but think, okay, in this moment, why was this important for her to share? What went through her head? Is there still some kind of trauma there? Is there still some kind of issue? Or is it just, she just wants somebody to know her life? Every life is a story. And every life matters. And every story matters. And if you've been here physically in this building with me, your life has intersected mine. If you've only joined through Facebook Live, you're still sort of touching my life with your life. So if our lives are connected, if they're intersecting, shouldn't we be people who can share who we really are? Share our stories, share our truth, be fearlessly authentic? Isn't that what we're supposed to be able to do? And if every life is a story and every life and every story matters, why do we not share? And see, this one I think I know the answer to. There are pieces of my story that I don't talk about. Mainly because we all carry some type of fear. Fear of rejection, fear of somebody thinking we're crazy, fear of not being good enough. And those are fears that sometimes are only in our heads, and sometimes they are true fears that exist because of the situations we've come from, where it wasn't safe to be who you were, where it wasn't safe to share your story, where it wasn't safe to share your truth. But here in this place, shouldn't we be safe? Shouldn't it be okay for you to talk to one another and share your stories? Shouldn't it be okay for me to talk to you and share my stories? And I know that so many of you that come here in person are introverts, and the thought of sharing your story is just right now making you want to go to the bathroom and vomit. And I get that. So I thought maybe what I could do today is be like, okay, I'll go first. And maybe if I go first, maybe it'll give somebody some courage. Maybe it'll shine a light. Maybe it'll make you see me in a different way that then lets you know you can talk to me about something that you haven't talked to me about. I don't know. So here's part of my story. If you've been here any amount of time or you've tuned in any amount of time, you know that I like to say things like, I don't care if you're Christian. And I don't. I talk about a wagon wheel theory. And the wagon wheel theory is the way I had started thinking through things a while back. A wagon wheel, see, it's 2020 now, so I know this is like way outside of our comfort zone, but trust me, if you've watched any old westerns, like has been on our TV at home a lot lately, because our people live there now. So anyhow, the wagon wheel circle, and then there are these little spokes that run to the center. And I started thinking about faith and religion and how we try to say that only one applies and only one is right. And I started thinking about the wagon wheel, and I started thinking about how each rung on that wagon wheel is a path. It's a path that we can travel to figure out faith, to figure out holy, to figure out whatever, right? We can take a path. And all of them go to the center of that wheel. And if one of the little spokes breaks on a wagon wheel, do you know what happens? The wheel doesn't work right anymore. It takes all of them. It takes all of us. No matter what our religious background, no matter what we claim as our religion or as our faith, or what we say we are not. Because some of us do say, I am not a Christian. I am not a believer. So no matter what we claim and what we reject, it takes all of us. That's my wagon wheel theory. But then when you come here on Sundays, or when you watch the videos, what you'll notice is that even though that is my core belief, that wagon wheel principle, that is something that is like deeply embedded in me. I feel it so much. And it took sitting with myself and seeking for me to understand it. But now I hold that as a core belief. But then on Sundays, when I get up here and do this, what ends up happening? I preach from a very Christian perspective. Not that there's anything wrong with that. But if I'm going to be authentic, that means I'm going to be genuine. That means I'm going to be true to what I hold to be true. So my wagon wheel theory should come into play here. And there's a quote that I read. It's by William Gardner. It says, we all have two religions. The religion we talk and the religion we live. It is our task to make the difference between the two as small as possible. So, the thing we talk and the thing we live, and there's a gap sometimes, a lot of times if we're honest. And our job is to get them as close to being in alignment as we can. Because what does that mean? That means then we're whole. And when we're whole, we kind of function better. When we're balanced, we function better. We can not hide. We can stop being afraid. Because what we say we believe and what we live are the same. Christy, what does that have to do with a wagon wheel? Well, see, that's one of my things that I believe. I don't care if you're Christian. I don't care if you practice any religion. And maybe I don't talk about it a whole lot because, fear. Maybe I think you'll think I'm nuts. Maybe I think MCC as a whole would be upset with me. Maybe I think people just aren't used to pastors standing up and saying, Christianity's good. Islam is good. Humanism is good. Science is good. Maybe I think that people would reject that. Or maybe I've just been up here preaching from a very Christian perspective just because that's what I was raised in and it's a large part of who I am. But authenticity means being as true as you possibly can be to your truest self. My truest self knows that holy is a whole lot more than we could even begin to imagine. And the whole, this certain group of Christians know how to get to heaven, and this certain group don't know nothing about it, and this faith is wrong because they don't talk about Jesus, and this faith is wrong. Like, when we start nitpicking, it's like we've taken the most beautiful painting that ever existed, and we've started cutting it in pieces to make a jigsaw puzzle or something. And everybody takes that little piece and runs with it. That one little piece is not the whole. It takes all of it to be whole. Just like it takes all of us for Thrive to be whole, for this community to be whole. I don't know all of your stories, but I want to. Whenever you're ready. And I can't make you share your stories. That would be way wrong. But I can tell you that if you want to share your story, I'm here. And I'll pay attention. And I will encourage you. And I will go through it with you. Because that's kind of part of the whole thing, right? We're journeying together. What are the principles of Thrive? Seeking, loving, healthy relationships. Stories are part of healthy relationships. Stories are a part of seeking. If you pick up the Bible as a part of your Christian studies, it's full of stories. Stories are how we convey the things that are so deep inside. Stories are how we inspire, how we grieve, how we make sense of life. And every life is a story. 100,000 have ended. But you're still here. Your story's not over. And as long as you're alive, it's still being written. That means everything that happens is contributing to your story. Every choice that you make, every love that you embrace, every heartache that comes along, every joyous moment that comes along, they're all a part of your story. And your story, plus your neighbor's story, plus your best friend's story, plus my story, when they all come together, they make this huge, beautiful story that Hollywood probably could not make into a movie. But it would be the most beautiful movie ever if they could. And since you're still here and it matters, your story matters, your life matters, every choice you make matters, please choose bravery. Please choose authenticity. You know, that being real. Choose to say, this is me and I'm not going to be afraid anymore. Choose to love. Choose truthfulness. I'm going to say it one more time just because I feel like I'm supposed to. I don't care if you're Christian. I don't care what your label is, if you have one. You belong here at Thrive. Because here at Thrive, the journey that we're on is simply about loving one another and journeying together. And as we do the journeying together, it's about making each other better as we go, but also making the world as a whole a little bit better. By the way we hold on to one another, by the way we love, by the way we share all that we are. It matters. And of those 100,000 stories that came to an end in the past 3 months, if they still had 1 minute left to say one thing to you or to me, I can't help but think that they would tell us to give it our all. So let's do that. Let's live every moment to the best of our ability, being as true as we can possibly be to who we are called to be. And honor one another by paying attention to the story. Honor one another by holding space. Honor one another by continuing to choose each other as family, as friends. Wherever you are, whatever you believe, whatever you don't believe, you matter. It matters. And my wish for all of you this week is that you would take a moment and really get in tune with who you truly are, what you hold to be absolute truth, the thing that you're called to do, the thing that you believe in the most. I want you to think on it. And then I want you to find ways to start living it, getting it to align as closely as you can, because it matters. The other thing I want us to do this week is hold all the family and friends of the 100,000 people and stories that have come to an end in our hearts. Their world has changed. Their life has changed. Hold them in your thoughts, in your prayers. And when you have a chance, be sure that you've left nothing undone. If there's an I love you that needs to be said, or an I'm sorry that needs to be said, be brave. Say what you need to say. And live your life genuinely, courageously. And let's do it together.